Are you ready to hear the roar? Welcome to the Nürburgring. The sun is shining, we've got beautiful weather, but of course here in the Eifel you can never trust the sunshine. Anything is possible here. Fact is, we've only got 4 more races to go in this season. It's all about the championship battle between René Rast, who's already sitting in the car, and of course Nico Müller. René's got 20 more points than him, so it's going to be very, very exciting, that is for sure. But before we get racing, obviously, it is time to get qualifying. So here's your commentator.
Thank you very much, Verena. A very good morning to you. Welcome to the wonderful Eifel region and this extraordinary 3.629 kilometer circuit, which is the Nürburgring. 11 turns, 7 of them right-handers, 4 of them are left-handers. René Rast, who comes here with an unbroken record at the Nürburgring from last season where he took both wins. Clearly, if he could do that this weekend, that would really, really advantage his championship position, which, as Verena has indicated, he's just ahead of Nico Müller with regards to the points. Now, Pietro Fittipaldi had a bit of a problem during one of the FP sessions yesterday because he crossed the white line on pit-in, and therefore, under the totting up procedure, that was his 3rd warning, and therefore he gets a 5-place grid drop. So whatever he does in qualifying today, if he puts it on P1, he'll be starting from P5. Nico Müller, as you can see, 10 podiums in the current DTM season, and that is Duval, who is readying himself for this qualifying session. So everyone getting ready. It's a short, sharp qualifying session, and a man that knows all about qualifying in DTM and has had huge success in qualifying here at the Nürburgring. I think 3 pole positions. Lucas Au, welcome. It's nice to see you.
Good morning everybody. Yeah, it was always Nürburgring, was always a great track for me, and let's see what happens today.
Of course, forgive me being a slight dampener on your pole positions, 3 pole positions. I think it was only 1 win though, Lucas.
Only 1 win, yeah. We always struggled a bit in the race.
Sorry for that. Just had to bring it. Of course, now racing in Japan in Super Formula with Red Bull Association as well. Are you enjoying your season?
Yeah, I had a great season. I live in Japan, in Tokyo.
Oh, wow.
And the Super Formula cars are incredible, fast, light, and I really enjoyed my year.
So it's been sort of single-seater because you and I first met in your days in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. Boy, don't we miss that. Then, of course, migrated to DTM, and now back to single-seaters, and still proving that you're very much the talent.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, at the beginning it was a challenge coming back from touring cars, but as I said, I enjoyed it, and Japan and the Super Formula Championship is just great.
Okay, so having had 3 pole positions here, what's the key to a good quality lap at the Nürburgring then, Lucas? I mean, and sorry, I'm interrupting you before I've even allowed you to answer the question. I simply love turn 1 because you're running downhill. It's almost like a hairpin, so you come back upon yourself. And of course, in the race, it is just, it's particularly on the first lap, it's mayhem because it's like a funnel, isn't it, with all 18 cars all running into that. But in terms of qualifying, presumably you approach turn 1 slightly differently. You perhaps use a different line through turn 1 during quali?
Yeah, there are a lot of different lines. We saw yesterday on free practice that the Audi car takes all these bumps before the braking zone in turn 1. They actually don't need to change the line. The BMW drivers and Aston Martin drivers, yes, they need to change the line. So I believe we will see many different things today, but I believe the key here for the pole position is the first sector, and that means you have to have your front tires ready in your push lap.
Right, so that's extra impetus on making sure that on your out lap you absolutely get everything ready, because the minute you cross that timing line, that sector 1 is where it's all delivered.
Exactly, yeah. Warm-up has to be on it, traffic management has to be on it, and then from the first corner onwards, your front, especially the front tire, is always a bit more difficult. Getting them into the temperature window has to be just spot on.
Something I've found really curious this year, Lucas, and I've noticed it more this year than any other year, is obviously qualifying is short and sharp. Therefore, you effectively get 2 runs, don't you? You go out for your first run, you put a banker lap in, then you come in and perhaps put a new set of tyres on, and maybe you'll go out for a second time. On, I think, only 2 occasions this season has anyone bettered their first time in the second run. Why is that? Because presumably, there's a little bit more rubber on the track, and the track has evolved a little bit. I would have always thought towards the end of the session it should be better, but it doesn't appear to be the case.
Yes, exactly. In the past it was like that. The second one was always the better one, but probably if the car is hot and basically everything is hot. It's a challenge to get the pressure again right, to get the warm-up again right, yeah. And if you get some little stuff wrong, yeah, you won't improve your lap time. So maybe we see it here again that the first run is actually the run.
Going to be the quickest.
Yeah, but it is very cold today. So let's see.
Yeah, I mean, the sun is beating down, but track temperature is not where it will be when it comes to the race, of course, as the 20-minute qualifying session is underway. And as is always the case, the beating heart of the DTM cars make their way out onto the track. There's Joel Eriksson in the BMW. Then you can see the number 23 car making its way out on track, Danny Junkadea. There's Jamie Green, then Audi driver. Of course, both the free practice sessions was something of an Audi fest yesterday. They really had got the setup here for Nürburgring seemingly nailed. But as I often say on the air, Lucas, free practice is free practice. It's not qualifying. It kind of doesn't matter. And we do tend to see slightly different performance when it comes to qualifying when it matters.
Yeah, exactly. And don't forget that probably everybody's on different fuel level because nobody won't show their real pace. So this is the time to show your cards.
Now, this is the man that, with the greatest of respect, has got a lot of work to do. Marco Wittmann, who we saw there making his way out of the garage and onto the track, is standing P3 in the points at the moment on 167 points. Still mathematically possible for him, of course, to take the Drivers' Championship. And let's be truthful, Lucas, he's done it twice. You know, he knows what being a champion is all about. He will be absolutely driven and committed to the task ahead of him. But it's going to be hard work, isn't it?
Yeah, very hard work, but Marco is doing really an amazing job. And normally at the Nürburgring he is always really fast and a candidate for pole positions and race wins. In
fairness, you're right. He's had 2 wins here. He's had 6 podiums here, so he is a threat without question. This man, though, leads the Drivers' Championship at the moment. René Rast all fell over for him a little bit at the Lausitz ring, but as you can see, 5 victories, 9 podiums, 11 top 10s, 6 pole positions, P1 in the championship on 234 points. And another factor to be considered as we ride on board with René Rast here, of course, driving for the Audi Sport Team Rosberg, is that in qualifying in the DTM, if you put the car on P1, not only do you have the best starting position on the grid, but equally you get 3 points as well. And we've calculated that René has achieved almost a race win in terms of qualifying points over the course of the year, and that's really critical, isn't it?
Very critical. Every point counts. And you see, if he wouldn't have done that, yeah, with the Lausitz ring DNF, he wouldn't be on P1 anymore. So it's impressive what they are doing, what René is doing, and it will be interesting if they can do it again here.
Here's Paul di Resta then for the R Motorsport Aston Martin team. And Paul di Resta driving the number 3 Aston Martin Vantage DTM car. Paul di Resta, former champion, of course, in DTM back in 2010, as the graphics indicate. And I watch with interest, Lucas, as we run these onboard shots. Some drivers are very, very aggressive in their steering as they're trying to warm the tyres. Other drivers are smoother. Is it possible to be too aggressive in terms of the warm-up of the tyres?
Yes, definitely, and especially if you do it too early. So what basically nearly all of them are doing now is an out lap, very slow,
yes,
then a warm-up lap, and another warm-up lap.
Oh, so 3 warm-up laps, yes, effectively.
So I think we will have cars pushing on the second push or on the third push, yeah. So everybody have different strategy, but up to now they're doing 2 warm-up laps, including the out lap, and it's very critical, yeah. And it also has, also depends a lot on your setup, what you have, what you need, aggressive, not aggressive. So you see it with all the different manufacturers. Everybody needs to do something different.
Well, the quickest time during FP yesterday was in the 120s. At the moment, the fastest time, as you can see from the indicators on the left-hand side of your screen, is a 126.895. Of course, track temperature is somewhat colder today, but lots of people are setting purple sectors now. Mike Rockefeller has just gone purple in Sector 1. Now, if you're just joining us and you've not experienced DTM qualifying before, the graphics that you can see on the bottom of the screen, they're split into 3 boxes, and they indicate each sector in the particular part of the circuit. If they're purple, it means quicker than anyone. If it's green, it's a personal best. And if it's white, it's a non-improvement on a previous best time. So Marco Wittmann here, mired in traffic, as you can see, with Jamie Green. And perhaps this will be frustrating Marco Wittmann as Jamie Green gets going now. So too does Marco Wittmann. Jonathan Aberdeen is the quickest with a 124.676. Expect those times to come tumbling down. Marco Wittmann continuing to weave from side to side to generate that temperature into the Hankook tyres. Heavy braking into turn number 1 now as you turn in. And Jamie Green seems to make a complete horlicks of it, Lucas.
Yeah, probably front tires are not there. He was over pushing the braking point. Marco is doing another warm-up lap, but he also went late out of the pit.
Indeed, he was one of the later ones to come out of the garage, wasn't he? So we're on board with Marco Wittmann now, and it's brilliant to have former DTM star Lucas Auer alongside us here, who can give us all that critical inside information which only a race driver can bring us, and that is that Marco Wittmann's doing another warm-up lap. This is Jonathan Aberdeen then, who is fastest at the moment, a 1:24.676, but he's done a purple through Sector 1, no surprise there. Purple through Sector 2 now, although somebody else has bested him through Sector 1. That's probably René Rast, I would suggest. So, yes, René Rast has gone purple through Sector 1. He's on a charge. 261 kilometers per hour, and he's some 4.1 seconds down on the previous best time, which was set by Jonathan Aberdeen, who betters his time now and crosses the timing line with a 1:20.568, much more into the realms of where we would expect. Loic Duval now goes fastest. Here comes René Rast. Expect this to be a P1 position. Indeed so, a 1:20.387. Taken 9/100ths out of the previous best time from Loic Duval. What can Marco Wittmann do? Well, we will find out after the conclusion of this lap, because Lucas indicated last lap was a push lap. This lap is the real lap. So we're right on board with Marco Wittmann, then brakes, turns the right-hander into turn number 1, and heads around there now, heading towards the Mercedes Arena, turn number 2, and then into turn number 3. Oh, he runs really wide there. That will have compromised, won't it?
Yeah, big compromise, but he will have another lap probably.
And is it, to get the very, very best out of the Hankooks, is it 2 laps, really?
I believe here it is 2 laps, yeah. But here with Marco, you see it. You need every single millimeter on this track to open up the radius, which allows you to get more corner, to carry more corner speed. Yeah, and if things like that happen, that's racing. But I believe he has another lap where the tires are basically in the peak window.
Okay, well, we stay on board with Marco Wittmann then. Mike Rockefeller is looking lively as well, currently P8 in terms of qualifying times. But he's done a purple sector through Sector 1 and a personal best through Sector 2, and he rolls out his lap, improving from P8 to P1 with a 1:20.217. Here comes René Rast then, who doesn't improve on that occasion, so a 1:20.217 from Mike Rockefeller is the best time that we've seen so far. Now, Marco Wittmann has done a 1:20.629, which is only good enough for P9. So we're talking about 4 tenths between P1 and P9. And Marco Wittmann, we know, is going for another lap. And this just reinforces how close and how tight it is in the DTM, because the top 12 drivers are within 7 tenths of each other, Lucas.
Yeah, amazing. But I think Marco lost at least 3 tenths in turn 2, so okay. I think he is on the pace.
Well, let's see. Danny Yonkadea improves by 1 place. He now goes to P12. Aston Martin are Motorsport. There's Joel Eriksson crossing the line. Here comes Paul de Resta. It's P16 for him at the moment. Jake Dennis, P15, but on board with the championship leader, René Rast, who is currently second fastest. He's done a personal best through Sector 1. He's heading up towards the chicane now. Sector 2 was not so good, and that's probably brought about by the fact that he had traffic around him. And this is where the relationship you have with your engineer is absolutely critical, isn't it, Lucas, for putting you out into a position on track where you've got clear air ahead of you?
Yes, that's so critical. If you have traffic, basically the run is done. But I think it was still okay for René, and this was his 3rd push lap.
Wow, a 1:20.1. And what I find amazing about this is Sector 1 was a personal best. Sector 2 and Sector 3 actually were nothing to write home about, but the cumulative lap time was still better than any before.
It's all about getting the sectors together. You don't need to be all the time purple. It's just bringing the lap together, and getting the maximum out of your package, what you just have.
Marco Wittmann, well, he did 2 personal bests in Sector 2 and Sector 3, but it just reinforces exactly what you were saying there, because it's actually only P10. Now, Nico Müller, of course, is chasing René Rast in the Drivers' Championship. He's some nearly 3 tenths down on René Rast at the moment. So Nico Müller down through the gearbox, then into turn number 1. Thomas Biermeier looks on from the pit perch. Then he, of course, head of ABT Sportsline, the team that are engineering Nico Müller. And what can Nico Müller find? Well, now, even if you have someone ahead of you, like Sheldon van der Linde, who will probably, well, Nico's bailed this lap now, hasn't he? If you have, no, he's not, he is going for it. If you have just another driver in front of you, even if they keep right out of the way, Lucas, it must be a distraction, and it must cost you.
Yes, but it is a distraction, yeah. So, but if they are still far away, it's more just a mental distraction, and it's about how mentally strong you are, and still getting the lap together. But because normally nobody would block you completely
absolutely.
off.
No, absolutely.
So it's more a mental distraction.
There's Bruno Spengler, you can see there in the number 7 BMW. Then it's René Rast, who is currently top of the chart with a 120.170. Then it's Jamie Green, and Marco Wittmann has come in now. So at this stage, with 9.5 minutes left on the clock, drivers come in, new set of handcooks will go on the car. What's the conversation between engineer and driver at this point? Because the driver is handed the screen, he can look at all the data. Are you going through areas where you've perhaps lost a 100th or where you could improve? Is it, because you need your engineer to motivate you actually?
Yeah, exactly. So first you get your screen, and then you look on the screen basically who is the fastest guy with the same car.
Yes.
And you get the data on board on your screen. And then overlap over your fastest lap, yeah.
Right.
And then you check the most important three corners, yeah, because more is a bit difficult to,
Yes.
to take for the next run. So you check those 3 corners and try to improve it and go faster than the guy.
So basically, you overlap that graph of the best time over your time, so that you can see where the peak is, where you missed that peak, and that's where you need to improve.
Exactly. You see braking, turning, throttle, and then you should know what to do.
But of course, you then have to go out and put it in practice, don't you?
Yeah. Very difficult. You have only a couple of minutes and then do it, yeah?
Everything goes so very quickly in this qualifying. We're watching René Rast in replay here, who of course has set the fastest lap, a 120.170. Now, that's only, it's less than a tenth quicker than Mike Rockenfeller, who is P2. It's another supreme qualifying from Jonathan Aberdeen. He's been a real star, actually, in terms of his qualifying performance. P3 for Jonathan Aberdeen. Then it's Loic Duval. Then the best of the BMWs is Bruno Spengler ahead of Timo Glock. So relative to the free practice we saw yesterday, and as you quite rightly said, Lucas, we've got no idea who's running what fuel load and all the rest of it. Actually, the BMWs are looking a bit more competitive today.
Yes, I believe he is very close. Marco hasn't got his lap together, so he has another shot.
Yes.
And I mean, Bruno did a great job, and also Timo.
Yes. And Timo, yesterday in free practice, he had so many offs in turn 1 where he didn't get the braking right or whatever. He's pulled it all together today, so that's good to see. Timo Glock is currently 6th fastest. Again, let me reinforce, less than 3 tenths between René Rast and Timo Glock. In fact, the top 15 drivers in DTM are all in the 120s. We've only got 7 minutes left, and all of a sudden, once again, the track becomes very busy, Lucas. Everyone comes out. So not only are you fighting with your car and with the track, but you're fighting with everybody else that's out there as well.
Exactly. It's about track positioning, tire warm-up, and then being ready for your first push lap.
We often hear, when we listen to the engineers on team radio, drivers come in, and this particularly in the race, when they're perhaps doing their mandatory pit stop, and they're getting another set of tyres on. René, you are getting a scrubbed set. Please tell us, what does a scrubbed set mean, Lucas?
Basically, with all these scrub sets, this happens yesterday in free practice.
Mm-hmm.
A scrub set means you go in FP1 out with a new tire set.
Yes.
You do a very slow out-in lap.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't go over start-finish. Very slow, and you just get the new shiny stuff off the tire. Yeah.
So you are effectively just scrubbing the face of that tread,
Exactly.
aren't you?
And there, Audi, BMW, Aston, they all have different, Aston Martin, they all have different approaches. But sometimes, they want to get the shiny stuff off because they expected then even more from the tire.
Right.
Yeah? So there are so many different solutions with new tires, and everybody needs something different. It's very interesting what is going on actually on FP, scrub set, no new set, 2 warm-up, 1 warm-up. Everybody has his own way at the end of the day.
Do you know what? And this is what I find fascinating, and I am in awe of you guys as racing drivers, because not only are you racing drivers, but you're also half scientists as well, aren't you? Because you have to understand how to get the very, very best out of every single component that you're given.
Exactly, yeah. And at the end, it's about your feeling. You feel when the tire is ready. Do I need on the left front tire more temperature? Do I need this? Do I need this? Basically, it's up to your feeling, because if you feel confident,
Yes.
you will get the lap.
Sure. So, out of the car then, and walking away is Ferdinand Habsburg, Aston Martin Vantage DTM driver. He's not going out again, it would appear, and we have just under 5 minutes remaining. Now, this will be interesting to see right at the start of the programme, as I welcomed Lucas Auer into the comms booth. As I said, very often during the course of DTM this year, we've not seen an improvement in the second part of qualifying. We have merely 4.5 minutes left. A time round here, a lap round here is in the 120s. And there already the spectators are beginning to make their way into the Nürburgring ahead of the DTM race to come in the early part of this afternoon. But it is this critical qualifying, critical not only for the grid position, but also for the top three in qualifying, who get 3, 2, 1 points respectively to their Drivers' Championship tally. So there you can see Ernst Moser looking on from the Phoenix Racing Team, which of course are headquartered literally not 200 metres from the entrance here at the Nürburgring. And there you can see in the grandstands a very big crowd here already to enjoy the DTM race action. So all the drivers are out for this second part of qualifying, and as you can see, René Rast weaving from side to side as they're continuing to warm up a set of tyres and ready to go for their second runs. So at this stage, what's going through René's mind, Lucas, in terms of preparing for a hot lap?
Well, basically he's trying to manage the traffic, to have the perfect gap, and most of the focus goes into tires and brakes, because they have to be ready, and those two things you are fully focused and getting ready for your 2 push laps probably. But now it will be really game on for Nico Müller and Marco Wittmann, because they need a better starting position. Otherwise, if it stays like that, René will be gone until they arrive to the top 3 guys in the race.
Yes, I think if it looks the way it looks at the moment, it would be game over in terms of the race, wouldn't it, for Nico Müller and Marco Wittmann? Although there have been lots of curved balls thrown into the DTM mix this season. Now this is the fastest part of the track, and of course this turn, which is turn number 8, is a bit of a kink really. It's taken absolutely flat, isn't it, Lucas, in the race?
Yeah, it's an easy flat. Even if it rains, you always take it flat.
Okay. Now, the chicane, I love this chicane. Now, cautious not to bounce over too much of the curbs.
It's so difficult. If you arrive there, you have a good lap, I
Yes.
still remember, and then you arrive to the chicane. Because if you take a bit too much curb, everything is done. And you lose half a second.
Oh, really? So all your good work can be compromised in a set of left-hand and right-hand corners at that extraordinary chicane. Okay, so we presume then now René Rast is going for a push lap, for a proper quali lap. We run the clock on both René Rast and Mike Rockefeller. Now, he didn't get exactly right turn number 1, did he?
We will see after the first sector. With René, you never know.
Okay. So René Rast then hugely experienced, of course, a DTM champion in his own right. Sheldon van der Linde then, the young South African, has done a personal best through Sector 1, but he is way down the order. P14 at the moment is Sheldon van der Linde, so a personal best is an improvement, but look, Duval has also done a personal best, and he's in P4 at the moment now. Interesting, because René Rast has his Sector 1, despite him running a bit wide through Turn 1, looks pretty good, Lucas.
It's a personal best. Bruno just did purple in Sector 1, which is always a good sign, as I said early on.
Well, van der Linde now goes P1 with a 120.108. Are we going to see a sub 120 time? Is that possible to take a 10th out?
Must be possible.
Okay, you've heard it from former DTM star then. And we await Mike Rockefeller, who crosses, yes, look, a 119.9. And here comes René Rast with a 119.6.
Wow, super impressive lap.
So René Rast has absolutely nailed it. There was us right at the start of the programme saying, actually, do you know what? You might not see an improvement through the second part of qualifying. Well, by Jiminy, you certainly have today. We have 3 drivers in the 119s. We're on board with Philipp Eng now. BMW star, of course. Oh, really fighting with the steering through turn number 1. Now, this is Nico Müller. Personal best through Sector 1 and Sector 2. Through the chicane he goes. Whoa, having to control the car as the back end lights up a little bit. So Müller, who's only P9 at the moment in terms of qualifying, needs to improve drastically as he heads to break the timing beam now. He does. He goes 3rd fastest. So if it stays this way at the moment, it's a second row start for Nico Müller. We're on board with Marco Wittmann, another man who the pressure has got to be on him right now, Lucas. And he's got a yellow flag in Sector 5.
Oh, That's a difficult one. With Nico, it was a shame. He was much too close behind another car.
Yes.
He's been quite a bit faster, I believe.
But this surely will have done for Marco Wittmann's lap. As you can see, he's not improved through Sector 1. Bear in mind, 1:19.642 is the fastest time. We've now got 5 drivers in the 1:19s. One of those is Mike Rockefeller. You just saw him coming into the pit lane then. Here comes René Rast then. But just reinforcing what you can't read too much into that FP sessions, Bruno Spengler, best of the BMWs, P2. And here comes Wittmann to complete this lap. And it was P11 for Marco Wittmann. And oh my goodness me.
That's a shame.
That is a shame.
Especially when you see Bruno on P2, who did an excellent job.
And Philipp Eng with that was clearly the reason for the yellow, wasn't it? Philipp Eng has parked his BMW up and is going no further, so it's a poor qualifying for Philipp Eng. His best time was a 1:20.496. That's almost a second down on the fastest
I think the
time.
gearbox is done, to be honest. Should I describe? Can you listen?
We're listening.
Yeah, I'm listening. Don't try to drive. Leave the car there. They will assist you. Copy. Possible gearbox.
Yeah, so shifting from second to third in turn 3. The gear didn't properly go in, and then I just lost drive. It's like the engine was shutting down for some reason. But it was right after the gear change from second to third gear
for car behind.
in turn 4.
Watch out for car behind. Can you take it to the garage?
Fellow Austrian driver, of course, Philipp Eng, Lucas, with a gearbox problem now. As a racing driver, how much does that mentally impact you? You know, you've not been able to complete qualifying. You've not put the car where you would like to in qualifying. The engineer's going to have to work on that car now. Maybe take a replacement gearbox. It's hardly the most comfortable setup for the race, is it?
Yes, it's a tough situation, but normally as a racing driver, because where you get points in the race. So Marco and Philipp, obviously, they need to take maximum risk, and with a bit of luck, everything is possible. We have seen this year.
We have.
So let's see.
So the order then, René Rast, Bruno Spengler and Nico Müller. So Bruno Spengler, former DTM champion, of course, has split the two Audis. And here, confirmation of the qualifying then. Bruno Spengler, P2, but René Rast fastest with a 1:19.642. Nico Müller, P3, 1:19.908. Then it was Mike Rockefeller and Jonathan Aberdeen. Sheldon van der Linde, Timo Glock, Loic Duval, Jamie Green and Robin Freins. So it's Timo Glock and Bruno Spengler which have spoiled the otherwise all Audi party ahead of Marco Wittmann. The best he could do was P11. Pietro Fittipaldi P12. Bear in mind he will take a grid drop. Then it's Philipp Eng, Paul di Resta, Joel Eriksson, Jake Dennis, and Danny Junkadea and Ferdinand Habsburg. So Nico Müller and René Rast having a conversation. Now, Lucas, you've been in this position with teammates as Bruno Spengler joins them and is congratulated as well. You're going for the championship. One of your competitors in the championship from the same brand as you. How difficult does that make the teammate relationship, brandmate relationship?
In front of the camera, it's all right.
Thank you for your honesty.
No, I believe we will see. Actually, I think it's great. René on P1, Nico on P3. I think we will see some tough fights this afternoon. Because now it's game on, basically. It's about those two. I mean, Marco is still there, but obviously with his qualifying position, things doesn't get easier.
No.
And I believe between those two, it's game on. And we'll start this afternoon.
So let's go down as we look at the Nürburgring Castle and find out how René is feeling then. He's done the best job possible. He's banked another 3 points. He's with Verena now.
I'm here with René Rast. René, congrats. Wow, what a fantastic qualifying for you. You're starting in pole position. And if I remember correctly, not only are you now leading by 22 points, if I remember correctly, last year you won both of the races here. So do you have a good feeling for that?
Indeed, yeah, I have a good feeling. Starting well the weekend with the pole position. Yesterday I wasn't sure because the pace was not great, but today in qualify again we had a good margin to P2, which is obviously great. 3 points for the championship. But Nico is directly behind, so it's going to be a tough race for sure.
I'm sure we're going to see a battle. Thank you very much. I think off you go to the next interview. And yeah, back to you.
Thanks so much. Well, he really said exactly what you said, Lucas. It's going to be a tough battle, isn't it? Because, you know, Nico has never won the championship. René has. Therefore, there's almost an extra impetus, isn't there, for Nico?
Yes, definitely. And also, I want to remind you, I believe that Nico and especially the up team have a very strong package for long runs. Yeah.
Okay, P1, P2. Which is the best side of the track to be going into turn number 1? Is it the P1 position or is it the P2? Because sometimes P2 is better than P1, isn't it?
Yes, I believe it is still P1.
Okay.
But the starts are so difficult this year without the handbrake that I believe whoever gets it right with the right clutch preload is the man.
And the reason you're saying that is because, of course, for this year, for the first time ever, you kind of don't have that launch control in the DTM car. It's much more down to you as a driver to manually control your start.
Exactly. You basically with your right foot you control throttle and brake.
Yes.
Yeah? And with your left foot just the preload of the clutch, and it is massively difficult.
And neither Rene nor Nico are renowned for being bad starters. They're both good starters. So that's going to be a real test come the race this afternoon, isn't it?
Yeah, and pressure is on now. So let's see.
Oh, fantastic. So looking forward to the race to come then. And of course, in the mix is Bruno Spengler. Now, René Rast and Nico Müller then, as Lucas has indicated, are on the right side of the track. It's, it's probably the best place to be. But Bruno Spengler is going to have to have something to say about that, I feel sure, because he's going to want to spoil the party for them. Of course, Philipp Eng's car is, as you can see, being towed back to the garages with work to be done with regards to the gearbox on the car of Philipp Eng. And there are a whole gaggle of drivers walking down the pit lane. There's Mike Rockenfeller, you can see Sheldon van der Linde and Jonathan Aberdeen and Paul de Rester, and that's Joel Eriksson having trouble getting his overalls off at the moment. He's dropped his bottle now. Joel and I have such a great relationship, and I know he'll forgive me, or I hope he will. And is making his way now. So there we are, qualifying done and dusted, and wow, how quick it was, a 1:19.642. I mean, over Bruno Spengler, a 1:19.822. Couple of tenths is a huge margin, actually, isn't it, Lucas?
Yes, especially in DTM. So René is obviously in top form, but let's see if this is also the picture in the long run.
So the order then, Rast and Spengler on the front row of the grid ahead of Nico Müller and Mike Rockenfeller. Then we find Jonathan Aberdeen and Sheldon van der Linde going from P5 and P6. Then it's Timo Glock and Loic Duval sharing the fourth row of the grid. It's P7 and P8 for those two drivers, ahead of Jamie Green and Robin Freins and all Audi row 10. As we reach row 11 now, where we find Marco Wittmann, that's not where he would like to be. Philipp Eng will be going from P12, subject to gearbox being repaired. Then it's Paul de Rester, best of the R Motorsport Aston Martins, and Joel Eriksson alongside him, ahead of Jake Dennis and Danny Juncker-Deyer. And then bringing up the rear of the grid, of course, Pietro Fittipaldi with his grid drop and Ferdinand Habsburg. There we have it, qualifying done and dusted. My big thanks to Lucas Auer for joining us on the air. And let's go down trackside once again with Verena.
And I am so excited because we only have 4 races to go, and it's going to be so thrilling because obviously René Rast leading, but Nico is close. We've been wanting to see a battle between René Rast and Nico Müller, and I think today in the race we're going to get it because René is starting in pole position and Nico in 3, so that's going to be very exciting. You do not want to miss the race in just a bit, so see you then. Here are the highlights of the qualifying. See you later.